Well, good morning. I'm Jim Moore, and this is Justice for America. It's February 16th, 2024, and this is episode number 81. Thank you for joining us today. We've got some very important things to talk about, and thank you that you would take the time to tune in. Before we get going, I want to encourage you to subscribe, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. This will help us get the word out. The more people that do that, the more the word can get out. So I just want to encourage you to do that. Also, feel free to comment as we go along, even though this is not a live program. Your commentary and your sharing and so on, all of those things, the likes, the subscription, all of that helps the algorithms push it out and get the word out to more people. So we thank you in advance for doing that. And don't feel like you comment too many times. We appreciate it. All right, so we're going to talk about red flags today. We've got a number of, really important links today. If you're not familiar with how we do the program, I'm going to show you a couple clips, but also I give you a number of links to investigate yourself. There's no way to be able to show you all the information that we have. We have somewhere usually between 10 and 15 links, and they are found in the description box of this program. So when you're done, you can go back and do the drop down where it says more, hit the more, and it drops down, and then you should be able to go directly to those links. And I tend to put the word must see on a few of them, because it's like if you don't get to watch all of them, which obviously most people don't get to, here's the ones that I would pick are the most important ones. So we try to keep them as short as we can, but sometimes they're not. All right, red flags. So more red flags than 9/11. This is something that has been put out there recently, and believe it to be very true. I'm going to share that in a minute. And then a serious national security threat. Before I do that, though, I want to encourage you to remember in prayer the people, the victims of the shooting that happened. If you haven't seen the news already, there was a shooting that happened at the Kansas City Chief Parade that happened in Kansas City yesterday. As you know, the Kansas City Chiefs won the Super Bowl, and there's a big parade. They estimate about 1 million people were there. A shooter, or maybe more than one, opened fire. One person was killed. A local radio DJ was killed. And a number of people wounded, including some young children, some very young children. Violence is escalating in our country. I'm a Bible guy. I'm a scripture guy. I believe very much that it states that this will increase as we draw towards the end. Jesus is the Prince of Peace, but people who don't know what that looks like are prone to enter into more and more violence. So that's another subject. Anyway, pray for the people that have been affected by that shooting. All right, so let's jump right into this. The current state of the United States of America and abroad. We're going to be talking about a number. Now, I do have a clip on this very first one, and this is my first must-see. I would say, without a doubt, if you cannot watch anything else, watch this one. A couple of these are pretty long, all right? If you're like me, maybe you can't watch them all. I strongly encourage you to watch them all. This one especially, incredibly important. Now, I've done this a little bit backwards. This one is let me just read it to you. So Rick Jones, who Butler County Sheriff, went to a conference in Washington, D.C. of all the sheriffs of the country. So about 3,300 sheriffs attended out of about 3,500, put on by the federal government. One of the speakers was the FBI Director Wray, who basically said, I'm going to show you and tell you things that we don't tell everybody else. Now, somebody says, well, why don't they just tell us everything? Well, because the people have the tendency to panic, all right? And I just want to give the caveat like we always give. I'm not trying to spread fear. I'm not trying to create panic. That's really up to you whether or not you go there or not. I'm not afraid. I'm not in panic mode, but I still want to know the truth. if a nuclear bomb or a spaceship or a tornado or whatever is coming my way, I want to know about it. Because just withholding information because you're afraid someone's going to panic is actually, in my opinion, kind of worse, because you cut off from people who know how to act intelligently and with care and so on, protecting their families and everything. You deprive them of the ability to do that. So anyway, so this sheriff basically said, well, I'm going to tell them anyway. I'm going to go online. I'm going to tell them what's actually happening. I'm going to give them as much information as is legal for me to tell them. And it was pretty serious. He said that Director Wray told them that there are more red flags now, right now, today, than there were before 9/11. And they said that there were a lot of red flags before 9/11, a lot of indicators, okay? Don't want to go into all the conspiracy stuff and all that, okay? The point is, they know something's about to happen. They know something's going to transpire. And I'm going to talk about some of the things that are going on in the country right now, some of the signs, some of the indicators, but I'll get to that in a minute. So you need to watch this. I'm going to show you a cut now in just a second. One of the things that he said is that we are, and this is a quote, this sheriff who was speaking about what he learned from the federal government. And understand again, when the federal government actually gives a heads up, we're way down the line. Now that's just the truth, because they withhold until it's going to become a liability for them not to say something. In other words, there's an expectancy. And he said, and I quote, we are in a terrible way right now. Now I want you to let that sink in. If that causes fear to come into your heart, then you're not ready. Okay? Not trying to be mean. I'm just saying. These things should not create fear in our hearts if we are prepared. All right, so let me go ahead and show you the clip. It's a couple minutes long. It's a little bit longer than I like to do, but I want you to see what you're in for when you're going to watch this. So let's go ahead and go to clip number 1.
He also refuses to meet with the police chiefs of the United States. They have a hierarchy also. He refuses to meet with them to talk about border issues or talk about crime that's going on because of the border issue. We were also told by Mr. Wray, the FBI director, that there are more red flags going off now than before 9/11. Okay? When I say red flags, meaning people that are here in this country that are wanting to do harm to us. We were also explained we're bombing 2 countries right now. 2 countries. These people do not like us before this started. There's thousands of people here from other countries, 160 different countries. They're here not to be our friends. Some of them are coming because they're wanting to come here to the best country in the world, the way we see it. Some are coming here to do harm to us. And we were told by the FBI director, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. We were also told 5 sheriffs went to Israel 5 weeks after the attack. The only thing that saved the Israelis, the government, was the local police. They were outgunned, outmanned. They came over. The Palestinians did. They came over. They killed, raped. The sheriffs were there. They talked to the police. The local police are what saved that country. You can't just call, even in Israel, you can't just call the military up and they're going to be there, okay? They went house to house, raping, killing. The Israeli police, when our guys got there, the sheriffs, said they just don't hate us. They hate you guys equally. And the same people that train them are the same people that train people to hate us. The FBI director said when 9/11 hit, there's more red flags now than then. So, and he said, these are people that want to kill us and do harm to us. Now, so you're wondering, I want everybody to know what I know. I can't tell you everything, but I want the public to know that we are in a terrible way right now.
All right, now that was some pretty interesting information. That's just a taste. You really need to watch the whole thing. I know this one's a little bit longer, but it's not too long that you can't watch it. All right, let's jump to number 2. So the U.S., now maybe you saw this in the last 24 hours. This is something that just is very current, that just came out. The U.S. House Intelligence Chair said that we are, and this is again a quote, in a serious national security threat. Now, there's a lot of and they added to that, but people should not panic. I laugh because I wonder if there was ever a time that they would come on and say, now's the time to panic. Okay, probably never should we panic. But they're saying, okay, so there's a lot of speculation about what this security threat is. The link that I have on here, I don't like using the alphabet media, almost never if I can get away with it. But this is the one that seemed to have the most current, because they were saying, we don't know, we can't say anything, we don't know what's happening, blah, blah, blah. Excuse me. And then finally, CBS said, hey, well, what we think it is that, and again, the whole Russia thing, we don't know what to trust right now. If some of you have watched the Tucker Carlson stuff, anyway, CBS came out and said that it looks like what it is something that has to do with the possibility of sending nuclear equipped satellites into space from Russia, okay, for the purpose of being able to attack other satellites and take them down. We don't know if that's true or not yet, but it's probably worth watching at least the first minute or so of that link, because it'll give you just a little bit of a brief overview. More is going to come out on this as time goes on. Yeah, but basically they're posturing like they just say a bunch of words that don't actually mean a lot. Anyway, so why do you got it in there, Jim? Well, so that you'll know. All right, so let's go to link number 3. This one's about 5 minutes long. Now, I tried to put the time on all of these. I don't think I succeeded. But most of these are really short. The couple that are must-watches are really the long ones. I don't know what to say. All right, so number 3 is a woman who is in the know, let's just say it that way, is saying that there are documented, now probably most of you know this already. Okay, listen now. This is not hypothetical. It's not guesswork. It's not like, well, we think maybe, but we don't really know. That's not what this is. There are documented sleepers. I've heard various numbers, some into the hundreds. They say at the very minimum, there's probably way more, but at least one sleeper cell in every state of the United States, of the country. I'm saying it's probably way more than that. Anyway, documented sleeper cells and ammunition caches. So a cache is like a storage somewhere. So these guys have been working on this for a while. And our wonderful administration flew open the door and said, come one, come all, we're ready for the destruction of our country. I know that might sound like I'm being exaggerating, but I'm not. I'm not exaggerating at all. So they're here. They are waiting for the phone call. They're waiting for the heads up. They're waiting for someone to push the button, and they will activate. Now, it's gone to the place where the powers that be, our governing powers, are actually starting to say, oh yeah, this is true. Okay, so that's a 5-minute one. Watch that. What's the point? So sometimes people ask me, well, Jim, what's the point? I don't want you taken by surprise, okay? Not trying to get you to run like Chicken Little and your hair on fire and, we're all going to die. That's not the point. The point is, when you know the tornado is coming, when you know the storm is coming, you can do something, okay? What you do is between you and your God. Okay, my job is to tell you about God on another program, Words of Encouragement, that we do. Go to the Words of Encouragement YouTube site, shameless plug, or to inform you about current events that you may not know that are actually happening, so that you can prepare yourself spiritually, mentally, and physically. All right, so number 4. Now, here's another clip I'm going to show. This one is a little more a minute long. And it is, again, this is the actual entire video is a long one. I think it's a little less than an hour long. This one, I had a hard time deciding if the first one with Sheriff McGregor, or excuse me, I forget his name, the sheriff was more important as a must-see, or if this one was. This one is retired Colonel Douglas McGregor. I told my beloved last night, I said, and we watched this one together, and it's stunning. It is absolutely stunning. Tucker sits down with this colonel and talks about, now it's going to start out with the Ukraine war, but those of you who have gotten bored about hearing this, he ties this into what's actually happening in our country right now and the precipice that we actually, not theoretically, but actually are on right now. And so the colonel talks about Ukraine, he talks about, and it makes you wonder. Yeah, well, let me come back to that. Go ahead. Let's go now to clip number 2 of Colonel Douglas McGregor with Tucker Carlson. Cut number 2.
Pretty much everything that NBC News and the New York Times have told you about the war in Ukraine is a lie. The Russian army is incompetent, they claim. Ukraine is a democracy. Vladimir Putin is Hitler and he's trying to take over the world. Thankfully, the Ukrainians are winning. None of that is true. Every claim is false, the last one especially. The Ukrainian army is not winning. In fact, it's losing badly. Ukraine is being destroyed. Its population is being slaughtered in lopsided battles with a technologically superior enemy, or scattered by the millions to the rest of the globe as refugees. Ukraine is running out of soldiers. As that happens, the question will inevitably arise, who's going to replace them? If the Ukrainians can't beat Putin, who will? The answer, of course, will be us. American troops will fight the Russian army in Eastern Europe. That's most likely. And the assumption is we'll win. But will we win? Probably not, says former Army Colonel Douglas McGregor, a decorated combat veteran who advised the Secretary of Defense in the last administration. The U.S., says McGregor, is on the brink of a catastrophic war that could very easily destroy us. Few Americans seem to understand that, but they should.
All right, so the question that I have when I watch this program, that's a little taste that you have. I hope you go and watch the whole thing. I really don't say this very often, but I would recommend this one, that you sit down, if you can get it on your TV, if you can do YouTube on your TV, turn on the closed captions so you can read what they're saying, you don't miss anything, and really absorb what's being said. It's very, very important, and it ties into our current state of affairs right now. The one question I have, or one of the many questions I have when I watch this, is why does the American government or the powers that be, why do they lie? Okay, and the colonel is saying, this is a lie. This is a lie. What they're saying about this is a lie. What I say, why do they lie? Okay, and Colonel Douglas, in my opinion, was a very, I don't even know how to say this, but I feel like he's an honest man. I mean, there's some people when they talk, you can just tell that they're being honest. So our next link, number 5 here, people are starting to wake up. People are starting to realize that all the hype they've been fed, a lot of politicians in cities and states. Now, you have to understand what motivates these guys. There's really, if I could boil it down to 2 primary motivators, or maybe 3, I would say morality, money, or public opinion. Okay? And sometimes number 2 and 3 can be tied together. So typically, and again, I'm not being biased, I'm just saying typically Democratic controlled cities and states are the worst offenders, or not defenders, offenders of some of this stuff that they have allowed to happen in the country, and it has currently brought us to an incredibly serious crisis point. All right, so it would be really nice if politicians did what they did and made their decisions not based on public opinion, which some people would argue, well, they have to do it on because they are representing their constituents, which I think they get wrong a lot of times. But okay, here's what our people want, so we're going to rah according to what our people want. Or money, those two could be tied together because they want to stay in office and get paid the fat salary that they get paid. Or the flip side to those two things are, I'm going to make moral decisions, whether I stay in office, whether people like it or not, I'm going to do what is morally right. Now, we have less and less of number one and more of number two and number three. I said all that. Here's another example. They're all over the internet. You can find them, where some of these individuals, mostly Democrats, who have made policy based on number two and or number three, what's popular? Well, we're going to be a sanctuary city, as one example. That's what this link is. Denver Mayor Mike Johnston, a Democrat, announces cuts in services. This is like a 53-second link. He is getting up and doing a press release saying that they're going to be cutting DMV, Parks and Recs, they're going to cut parts of their budget, listen now, in order to increase resources for illegal aliens. All right? And he warns there will be more cuts coming. Now, the thing about this is, instead of owning up, saying, hey, we made a mistake, we should not have jumped on the glory, hallelujah, sanctuary city bandwagon like the mayor of New York did. Come one, come all. We want you all. Until now, we don't want you at all. Okay? Instead of admitting that, they're doubling down. And now, as this person does, says, it's the Republicans' fault. Just kidding. Okay, sometimes you just gotta laugh at this stuff. So instead of owning up and going, we never should have done that sanctuary city thing, they'll go, it's the Republicans. Why? Because recently they were trying to pass a immigration bill that really just was full of all kinds of pork, sending money to this, sending money to Ukraine, doing this, doing that. It really wasn't going to do anything. So they said, no, that's not what we need to do. So we're not going to pass this bill. Now, it's the Republicans' fault for not passing this bill. Yeah, forget about the last 3 or 4 years, or at least the last 2 years, where we swung open the gates of the city and allowed the flood tide of all kinds of people, some legitimate looking for sanctuary and some military-age men from Uzbekistan and Pakistan and China and who knows where, coming in to do us harm. So it's not the Republicans' fault. And it's not, well, I'll tell you whose fault it is. It's Joseph Biden's fault. All right. Okay. I'm not going to go down that road. All right. Number 6. Speaking about that, and everywhere right now in the news that you see, there are people that are asking about. It is coming to a head that the mental capacity of our current president to run for election, hypothetically win the election, and then run the country for the next few years, even though I don't believe he's been running the country, is crazy talk. Okay. So here's a 2-minute video. And just as a reminder of some of the obvious evidences of the incapacity, the incapability of Joe Biden to remember what he's saying, finish the sentence. I mean, I really don't believe in the mockery and all that. I don't believe in that. I forget what I'm saying sometimes. There might come a time I won't be able to do this anymore. So I'm not saying, I know there are people that do that and they think it's great and it makes them feel good, whatever. All I know is I might be in that same position one day and I don't want to reap what I sow. But still, If I become incapable of doing this program, I shouldn't do it anymore. If the President of the United States becomes cognitively impaired to the degree that he cannot run the country, he shouldn't. Now, and that video is showing you some evidence that everybody now knows. Okay. Number 7, 4 minutes and 24 seconds. This one. Here's the most recent evidence that we have for this. So, and there could be some reasons behind the scenes why this happened, but Super Bowl, a time when the President of the United States, the leader of the free world, typically goes online or in person and makes a statement about the country. It's always political, even though he starts out talking about the Super Bowl. It's always, and that's, especially in election year, it's an opportunity to say something that might help them get elected. And why didn't this happen? A lot of reasons in mind. But let me focus on what he did do during the Super Bowl. Okay. So he has, I just don't even know how to state this. So this is the leader of the free world giving a short summary of, he talks about the Super Bowl, and he talks about, everybody likes to buy snacks, and he positions the crazy inflation in our economic situation in the country right now, and basically points at shrinking bags of potato chips and smaller bars of ice cream. I am not kidding. I wish I were kidding. But here's the leader of the free world in a time of incredible crisis globally, the free world, globally, getting up and talking about ice cream and potato chip bags. And that's why the economy, I don't even know what to say. I'm like, oh my gosh, I remember sitting and watching that and being I was like, I cannot believe that he's the leader of the free world is using this opportunity to address ice cream and candy bars and potato chips. I'm going to ask you hypothetical, who would elect such a man? I'm saying people that would elect that, they are crazy, okay? This is insanity. You do not take... okay, I'm just going to stop. All right, let's go to number 8, ABC poll. I'm sure I lost some of you right there. ABC poll, again, I've got 2 ABCs. This is not, and the reason I'm using this is because this is not some fringe group. This is not some, I told you so group, whatever. These are his team. Okay, this is the media that is doing a poll that's basically like, we're not ever going to say anything bad about him. Why are they saying something bad about him? Because I think they're looking for a way for him not to run. Okay. 86. Now, ABC did a poll. 86% of the overall public, I don't remember how many people they asked or polled. 86%. Think about that. Okay. That is 14% less than the entire country. Okay, you're talking about 14% less than 100%, if I did my math right. Okay, 86% of the overall people polled said that President Biden is too old to serve. Duh. Why is there even a conversation? Okay, what has happened, and this is what I'm trying to get you to think about. What has happened to the psyche of the America, or let's say it this way, the psyche of the governmental powers that is even considering this? Okay, 86% of the overall public that was polled said he's too old. Now listen to this, it gets better, right, or worse. 76, only 10% less, 76% specifically of Democrats. Now, it didn't say Republicans, I don't know, probably 100% of Republicans, but 76% of the people of his own party say he shouldn't run. Now, here's the stunning part to me. They'll still vote for him if he does. The Trump derangement syndrome, as some people are calling it, where you hate someone so bad that you feel like that the other side, who cannot even have cognition, would be better? Really? How ridiculous do you have to be? Anyway, look at that one. That's a short one. It's about 12 minutes long. I don't often run ads by Donald Trump, and I guess by now you can tell I'm not going to vote for Biden. Okay, so I try to retain some privacy. I just don't know how to do that anymore. Number 9. This is a short clip by Donald Trump and let me just say one of the things that I think is appealing to so many people. Now, all of the things that they say about that man, oh, he's racist, misogynist, blah, 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 I believe 90% of it is not true. First of all, I think he's a different man than he was when he ran. I'm not cheerleading for his presidency. I'm just saying. I'm saying that when you really hate someone, you exaggerate to the millionth degree. And it's crazy how much people hate this man. Whereas before, when he was in a worse condition, in my opinion, I think he's actually really leaned into being a better man after he was elected, but that's my opinion. But even when he was the darling of Hollywood, politicians, almost everybody in the media and in Hollywood loved Donald Trump. Now that is the truth, and that is a fact. Not all of them, most of them. Okay, even SNL did a skit where they were like promoting him. It's crazy. As soon as he walked down those elevator steps or those escalator steps, whatever, and said he was running, the hatred began. Okay, that's not reasonable. Okay, that's not about policy, because policy hasn't even been put in place yet. You get what I'm saying? All right. So the clip about Donald, I think one of the reasons people appreciate and want him, some people have just, it becomes like a Messiah figure. So kind of like what they do to Obama. He's like the Messiah. He even said, I don't walk on water, I think some people in an unhealthy way have done that for the Trumpster. But I think a lot of people just like the fact that he doesn't mess around, that he does what he says he's going to do. Does he make mistakes? Yep, he made some big mistakes when he served. Will he make more? Absolutely, all of them do. Okay, but he says, I will do this, I will do this, I will do this, and I will do this. And for the most part, he doesn't. And that is what the American public is looking for. Someone who will simply recognize, are you listening to me now? Recognize the nonsense and say, we're done with it. That's what they're looking for in a leader. Recognize the crazy, call it the crazy. The emperor actually has no clothes, okay? And then do something about it. That's my perspective. All right, I got to be done. I've got a few more here. These have to do with some global things. They are very important. I always have a hard time deciding which links to do because there's so many that are so important. The global agenda, one of the things that people are not seeing right now is the steady, unrelenting push for global control over your food. If you think that's a fantasy, it's not. There's a couple of these that have to do, they're actually outside of our country in Australia. Some of you have seen what's going on with farmers. You really need to watch the short clip where it shows farmers in multiple countries who all the farmers are coming out with their tractors and they're dumping their food and they're saying, we're not going to let you destroy our country and let us eat bugs, okay? And the bottom line is, in order to control the planet, which again is not a conspiracy, it's really amazing how many people who in the beginning were like, this is all conspiracy crazy, are now flipping and coming on and publicly saying, I was wrong. It's not a conspiracy, it's actually happening. All right, okay. So eating bugs, and then here's one about parents. Here's a man in Canada who literally comes out and says, parents have no right, only children do. Wow. And then, the other one is about digital ID and all of that. So those are really important. There's only a few of them. I encourage you to watch them if you're one of those that watch them all. Hey guys, God bless you. Thanks for tuning in. I really do appreciate you taking the time to do this. I don't do this for money. I don't do this for popularity. I'm actually the kind of person that would like to go get in a cave or in the desert somewhere and just, be with God and my family. But I'm doing this because I think that there are those of you who actually are concerned about the state of the country and the planet that you live in. You believe that you're born here for a reason. God put you here for a reason, and that is to pray alongside of him and intercede for your planet. So pray that you'll do that. Love your family, okay? Love your family. Love your neighbor. Don't become a crazy person, okay? Stay in tune with what's happening, but stay on your knees and do your best to love people and stand up for what's right, even if it causes you some discomfort. All right, so this is Jim Moore signing out. God bless you, and give yourself permission. One more time, subscribe. Hit the notification button. It helps me, and it'll help you. Give yourself permission to have a great day.